Hi, everyone. Welcome to this session about iOS 14. I'm Manuel Pacro. I'm head of operations at Addict Mobile, and we are going then to talk about four topics regarding iOS 14. So we prepared 4 videos. The first one today, and we're going to talk about the context on iOS 14 and 2 important topics, meaning the user consent pop-up, the SKAdNetwork, and we finish with the questions that we often receive from clients. So let's start first with the context. So the idea here is to be ready to do user acquisition on iOS 14. So we want to provide the full context, and then obviously with video 2 and 3, we'll talk about more in depth about the details. A quick disclaimer, because this topic is a hot topic at the moment. It's changing a lot almost every day. So the content of the video is subject to change in the future. So please be careful about this. So first of all, the context. So iOS 14, Apple in late June 2020, in the conference mentioned that the importance of protecting user data, and what they want to do with iOS 14 is require a consent pop-up to be implemented at the app level in order to track users, meaning that if you want to track users and know where they come from, you would need to have their consent on your app. Okay, so that's the quick illustration that Apple gave us. The users need to allow tracking in order to be able to track them. If not, the IDFA won't be triggered, and we talk about the IDFA, right after. Good news was that in September 3rd, they decided to postpone the implementation actually of this pop-up and the ATT framework. Because they just saw that the industry wasn't ready and needed more time to adapt. So what they say that it will happen in early 2021. So that's the Apple's ATT framework rollout. We don't know when exactly. There are rumors saying it's going to be March, but honestly, we don't know. Early 2021 can be January, February, March. So be ready and be prepared for this to happen. So what we can see here is the iOS 14 adoption as of the 7th of December. What we can see here is that almost 80% of iOS users are already on the latest version, meaning that when the ATT framework rolls out, basically most of the users will have access to it. So let's talk about the IDFA now under iOS 14. So we really believe that IDFA opt-in rate will probably be very low because IDFA attribution might be limited in the future. Okay, we'll explain why. The first of all, we would need a double consent. When I say that, I mean that obviously you would need to trigger the IDFA on your app as an advertiser, and you would also need to have the user consent on the app publisher level, meaning that to do a matching of IDFA and know where your user is coming from, you would need to have him accepting the consent on both app publisher and app advertiser. So it may have a big impact on user acquisition and monetization, especially the app that monetize through in-app ads. It's very important then to understand all of this, and we made the videos to help app developers be ready for IDFA and iOS 14. So first of all, the attribution, how it works. So we want to take things simply. So let's see how it works at the moment with the current attribution we have on iOS. So let's check this ad that I've seen on an an app, a football app actually. So I saw that Otome game, a vampire thing. So I clicked on it. Then when I click on it, they collect my IDFA, and the tracking SDK. It can be Adjust, can be AppsFlyer, Coachella, Singular. Any tracking SDK will collect the IDFA. Then I go to the store, I download my app, and I open the app. When I open the app, the IDFA, my IDFA is triggered. It's sent actually to the tracking SDK, and it's matched because they can retrieve my IDFA, the one I sent clicking on the ad. So with iOS 14, what we would need is to implement a pop-up, the Apple's pop-up, to be able to gather the consent of users. So that's the example, actually the kind of template that Apple gave us. So it should appear if you want to collect the IDFA on the app. So let's say the user gets this pop-up on the publisher level and accepts it, and same way he does on the app advertiser level. So in that case, it's exactly the same attribution as we used to have. Okay, so because the IDFA is collected on both publisher and advertiser app, so we can do the attribution. But let's imagine the user accepts it on the app publisher level, but not on the app advertiser level. So you won't be able to do the attribution, meaning that it doesn't work. You don't know where that user is coming from. Same in the other way around. The app publisher level, the user doesn't want to give his IDFA, doesn't want to be tracked. So you can't do the matching. And finally, obviously, if the user doesn't want in any app to be tracked, you won't be able to do the matching, obviously. So what you need to understand is that there are two ways of doing attribution on iOS 14. The first one is deterministic. Deterministic is based on device IDs to identify the user. So that's what we have at the moment for tracking purpose. Is we use a unique device ID that makes the matching or for attribution 100% accurate. So we use IDFA on iOS. We use GAID on Android, and those are unique identifier that helps us to do the matching perfectly. And as we mentioned, IDFA may be the level of data we get from IDFA may be very low in the future. So what Apple has done is providing a different solution, which is called SKAdNetwork. So it's Apple's solution as a fallback to IDFA. The other way to track is the probabilistic tracking. Okay, it's based on device characteristic like language, host version, IP to perform attribution. So those identifiers are not unique, meaning that the matching is not 100% accurate because different users can have those characteristics, same OS version, same languages. So one of the most used probabilistic attribution methods is the fingerprinting. Fingerprinting is not tolerated, it seems, by Apple. It's a screenshot from Apple's developer page when they mention clearly that fingerprinting is not tolerating, considered as tracking. And if you want to do that, you need a user consent. So a lot of discussion was about how to manage fingerprinting under iOS 14 and be compliant with Apple. It's very blurry at the moment. It seems it's not possible, but there are others methods that actually the third-party tracker are thinking of. So let's see if probabilistic attribution can happen. The advantage of probabilistic attribution is that it can provide granular user-level data. Even though it's not perfectly accurate, it would provide a really good support to user acquisition, actually. So let's wait for it. And actually, at the moment, rely, I would say, on IDFA and especially on SKAdNetwork, which we'll talk about on video number 3. So what you need to know about all of this, how is the industry taking the change? So first of all, the third-party trackers that are in the middle of this change. So it can be Kochava, Branch, AppsFlyer, Singular, Adjust, and any other attribution platform. So what they do, first of all, is that they are integrating SKAdNetwork. And actually the whole industry that needs to do it are really focusing on that. The second thing is that they help on preparing user consent pop-up. So I really advise you to really have a talk with your tracking tool to understand how they manage those topics, how they can help you to manage this. And the other point is that they make research on probabilistic alternatives. I was mentioning that fingerprinting, as it is at the moment, is not accepted by Apple, but they are thinking of ways of workarounds to do probabilistic attribution. Then we have the sources. Sources, I mentioned some here. Any sources, same, are integrating with SKAdNetwork because it's what we're going to have when ATT frameworks roll out. So every source want to be integrated and use SKAdNetwork to its full capacity. And the other thing is that most of them are doing a new user interface dedicated to iOS 14. Can be campaign creation flow, can be how data is triggered or how data is displayed, because the SKAdNetwork data is not a standard as we used to have in the last few years, where all your dashboard was unifying all the data because the data was triggered the same way. Here, SKAdNetwork changed everything. So you may have 2 different dashboards, for example, one for your, I would say, classic campaigns and one for iOS 14 campaigns. So we'll see how it goes because a lot of sources still needs to roll out their platforms on this topic, actually. And finally, and most importantly, the app developers. So first of all, I would really advise to update all your SDK that are affected to this change. I guess most of them can be the third-party tracker, your analytics, your Facebook, Firebase, any source you're using. So any SDK. And then it's essential to move forward with iOS 14 solutions. So user consent pop-up, SKAdNetwork, and actually the 6-bit conversion value. We'll talk about both things on video 2 and 3. Another thing is that it's about analytics. So IDFA deprecation does not affect your app analytics, but only attribution. And it's really important to understand this because Apple forbids to track a user between 2 apps. That's an extract of actually Apple's page. And you can't track a user between 2 apps or 2 a website and an app, but Apple does not prohibit to follow your user within your app. So you can still analyze user behavior, do user experience check, generate cohorts, lifetime value, and so on. So you can still follow your users within your app and track them through events. The thing you can't do is do an attribution between your app and another if the user did not consent to do this. And finally, so it would be important to lean on your analytics and evaluate the quality of your media investment. Same again, video 3 about SKAdNetwork and the importance of the setup of SKAdNetwork to be able to do this. Another point is the targeting. So targeting might not be that impacted by IDFA deprecation. Why? Because traffic sources which have first-party data will still be able to target users via this data. Let's talk about the Facebook. Let's talk about Google. They have data, they know their users, so they'll still be able to target somehow the users. They will definitely miss that IDFA data to be even more accurate, but they won't be blinded. And another thing is that more and more partners may request to integrate their own SDK in your apps in order to gather first-party data. That will be kind of the challenge for traffic sources, to make sure that they gather as many data as they need to perform targeting and a precise targeting. Finally, two key topics, and they are video 2 and 3. So the first one is user consent pop-up, and the third one is SKAdNetwork. I really advise you guys to have a look at these videos because it will help you to take actions, proper actions with your teams and in your app to be ready for iOS 4, and make sure that your user acquisition campaigns are ready and you can make the most of it of that topic. Thanks a lot for your attention. Feel free to contact your account manager or any Addict Mobile rep to talk about this. I'm available as well by email, so feel free to reach me, and hope it helps you. Bye.